Hello. Hello, hello. What is up, everyone? My name, as always, is Mr. Staleman, coming to you from these radio waves, hoping for anyone to come by, watch, and listen. Today, we're going to be playing some more Limbus Company, just hanging out, doing some late night streaming for Limbus Company. Um, I've been playing a lot more of the game. I have completed most of Chapter 3. I'm on Chapter 3 21, and the recommended level amount is 27. All of the people that I would like to be using are not at level 27. They're about level 25, 24. So I'm just going to spend some time talking about the game, talking about more of my thoughts of the game and the mechanics. Maybe talk about what Project Moon has talked about in their reveal um, for the like road map of the game and its updates. And yeah, maybe we'll learn a thing or two about dungeon running. I've run a couple of dungeons already, and a I have a very conclusive roadmap for how to go through the game. And here we are.
하루가 저물어가는 동안 나는
Right.
그저 서 있을 뿐이었어.
Is the volume fine? Let's raise it just a bit on the. Oh, turn. All right then. So, where last we left our heroes, I would probably say before we start the mirror dungeon, just like a quick talk of the chapters that I've experienced so far, sort of rating their level of strength and sort of the tone of each one. Um, at the moment, I would probably rate the Unconfronting as my favorite of the three, since it has the most balance of morbid moments and levity of the three available. The Outcast is my favorite for terms of theme. Uh, Learning about the G Corporation, getting your sinners to interact with one another is this is where they're most raw, most fresh. You're learning a lot about the world, its intricacies. It feels nice to learn about that. And then the Unloving is probably my least favorite chapter so far, but that's because of the context of going from the Outcast to the Unloving. You have a very serious, very dour chapter in the Outcast, and then when you go to the Unloving, it is quite light in tone, despite having uh, some dark moments towards the end with Rodion's backstory. Most of it is light. It feels like a hijinks heist. That's the best way that I describe it. A hijinks heist. Everything goes wrong, and yet everything is right with this district, with this chapter. The Unconfronting, I feel, does a great job of balancing that sort of quirky, uh, that sort of quirky humor that they're going for, with the very dark, bleak moments. Just as I'm going through these chapters, I have a mental list of where each sinner ranks from highest to lowest. And I started with this list. I started liking certain sinners on this list from the outset, and this these chapters that I've experienced have changed a lot of a lot of the list for me. As always, here are my sinners currently. G Corp manager Corporal Gregor would probably be the MVP for most of my fights. This is a wonderful identity to have, coupled with everyone else that I use, which would be Blade Lineage Salsu Yisang, Kurokumo, Henchwoman, Rodion, Blade Lineage Salsu, Sinclair, and if you are sort of new to the game and you're thinking to yourself that you need to pull a lot of 2 stars or 3 stars in order to run the game, I will let you know right now that that is not a thing that you need to do. The tier 1 Otis is a GOAT unit. It is absolutely phenomenal what this unit can bring to the table. You have an ego that is self-sufficient because all 3 of her abilities generate the coins necessary for you to pump out your regular ego. If you're on the pass, I believe it is, let me look at the pass here. Getting onto the number 4 of the battle pass guarantees that you get Ebony Stem, which is the easiest and best way to acquire an ego that does AoE damage. And AoE damage in this game is interesting. It is not like in Ruina where it targets everyone on the map, but you have like different clash requirements. It is partially based off of proximity. So sometimes if Otis is casting Ebony Stem onto one unit and there are no units around this one unit on the battlefield, it'll act as a solo attack, which it sucks sometimes. I think that the only other AoE egos that you have that are available from the onset are Faust and Hong Ling, but I'll be quite honest in saying that I don't know most of the egos for the lesser used units. I rarely use Faust. I rarely use Don Quixote, even though Don Quixote is it ranks pretty high in my tier list here. Hong Ling is last. I'm sorry, Hong Ling fans. Not even the tier 3 Hawaiian shirt boy is going to get me to use this unit. Their personality is too abhorrent for me. I just don't like them. I'm well, sorry, not sorry. Yeah, I would highly recommend that if you are playing the game when you're going through things, LCB Sinner Otis is very strong, as is. I have heard that Faust as is really good. Ishmael, either tier 1 or tier 2, are really, really good. I would probably say Ryoshu, if you can get her as a tier 1 or tier 2, is also going to serve you quite well in the grand scheme of things. Most of these characters are going to serve you well in the grand scheme of things. You're guaranteed Blade Lineage Salsu Yisang, and I think that he pairs quite well with other sinners that require pride and what is this, wrath? Or is this wrath? I know them by color. I don't know them by their other notations. I know like this is gluttony, this is sloth. I think this is wrath. This is lust. This has to be envy, pride, and then is this sloth? Regardless, you're gonna want to generate a lot of blue units. The only issue that I have with Blade Lineage Salsu is that his passive effect, or not his passive effect, his level 3, his uptime max tier 3 skill is purple, and this is bad. It is a bad color to have on this character because the only egos that you're going to pair him with are going to be like what? You have... No, not Faust. It's going to be egos that you're not typically pairing with him. Stuff like Heathcliff, stuff like Hong Ling. you're not generating that move is not generating any value for you until you get maybe, at least with the composition that I'm running, until you get maybe like Rodion from the pass if you're paying for the Limbus company pass, where you gain access to, fourth match flame and you just need the one purple color. What's her passive? Okay. Um if I can speak just a moment about archetypes. So, this game runs with a number of archetypes in the beginning, and one archetype that is being used often that other people would recommend is the Tremor archetype with LCCB, Ishmael, LCCB, Rodion. Heathcliff has some Tremor skills, and Standard Mersault has some Tremor skills. Uh, I personally think that if you're going to be running your team for just the basic story, you don't really need to care all that much about team composition. You can just play with what you want, level up your units to the best of your abilities, and just find good picks when you're going through the game. And you should be fine, right? What you want to care about is if there's an enemy with a coin attack that has high base power, or low base power but high damage if they land on a heads, you want to use a multi-hit attack so that you gain chances to just win the clash based off of luck, as opposed to doing anything else fancy. Right now, the only characters that would pair well with my Rodion for stacking bleed would be tier 3 Ryoshu and tier 2 Hongling, neither of which I have. I would still say that Kurokumo henchwoman Rodion is invaluable in generating the wrath and in generating the pride attacks that I need in order to get my Otis, my Sinclair online. That's just a little bit of build talk. Let's go to the drive section here, and let's just start off with our dungeon. I haven't done it today, so this is our daily dungeon. Okay then. So, as I had talked previously, what you want to do with these artifacts is you want to set up what sort of archetype, what sort of build are you setting yourself up with from the beginning of the game, and how well can you stick to that archetype. Are you going to go with something that is class specific, or archetype specific? So if you have something like, after dealing damage to enemies by using a Wrath or Bleed skill, inflict 3 bleed onto a target, this will want you to have a lot of Wrath abilities, a lot of bleed effects. Cool. Or do you want something that is a lot more skill agnostic, which would be something like Perversion? After defeating an enemy by using a skill, gain 1 ego resource of that skill's affinity. So you're gaining additional coins, ego coins, to cast ego more often. Always a good thing. And the bonus effect would be, if said skill's affinity was Wrath, gain 1 ego resource of all affinities that the user has instead. So if skill 1 provides green tokens, skill 2 provides blue tokens, and skill 3 is the Wrath token, you would gain an orange, a blue, and a green. Fantastic for ramping up your damage towards the late game of a given fight. I will be honest in saying that this ability, to me, it's like C tier. Skills deal 10% damage to staggered enemies. If the enemy is already staggered, they're already taking fatal damage from a skill. They're taking, 50% extra damage? 100% extra damage if they're in Stagger Plus? 10% extra damage onto an enemy that is already taking 50% extra is overkill. It is unnecessary. I don't understand why you would use this ability, unless I'm reading it incorrectly. If someone tells me that, this skill is being read incorrectly, please by all means inform me. I am going with Wound Claret here. And as always, because I'm going with Wound Claret, I'm going to go with Rodion, who has a couple of Wrath skills available. Gregor, whose G-Corp's final ability, his Rupture skill, has two Wrath skills. And then for my third unit, does Ryoshu have a Wrath ability in 7 Sins form? It's green, it's green, it's yellow, and it's blue. This is red, green, and blue. This is yellow, blue, teal. I don't think that anyone else that I regularly use has a Wrath skill available, so I'll just go with my tried and true Otis, because Otis is the only character that I have right now available with the identities at my disposal and with the egos at my disposal that has an AoE attack. And I can generate that AoE attack with the skills that are available on these units, I believe. I may need Sinclair over Gregor, because I think that I need red, and he generates green, red, and blue. It sounds weird, like spitting out these colors, but trust me, you get an understanding of how this is supposed to work later in the game, once you're familiar with the identities that you're using often. You can tell what you need in order to cast an ability, by the way, by looking at the awakening cost down here. So because the awakening cost for this is 3 pride and 1 sloth, I guess, right? Is that what it's called? Let's look at the info. Gloom. It's gloom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess this gloom is a sin. Okay. You would need 1 gloom and 3 pride. You generate your gloom here on this character with our Kurokumo henchwoman, right? This would be our gloom skill. This is our pride skill. And Otis has a base for gloom and pride as well. Pride being more than gloom here, with a passive ability, an ego ability that requires wrath, which she already had, or sloth, and pride. She is going to be spitting this move out often. It is a very important move to have in your back pocket. And then Sinclair, as Blade Lineage Salsu, has his green, his red, and his blue. And he, for his ability, requires green and red. So one thing to keep in mind when you're building your characters is that you want to have the ability to generate your egos self-sufficiently. If for whatever reason you have your character die as their, or have another character die that you need to depend on their ego generation for another character to generate ego, you are doubly hurting yourself, because not only now are you incapable of generating the requisite amount of ego to turn the tables on a given fight, you're now performing your attacks with less synergy. You want to have a lot of synergy when it comes to your attacks, because as the game suggests, when you combine for regular resonance, where 2 colors of a kind are connected together, or 3 resonance for absolute resonance or whatever, when you do 2 or 3 of a kind, you're increasing the amount of damage that you're dealing. So when I'm looking at team building, I'm thinking less in terms of their skills matching with one another, and more for their colors matching with one another. Because a lot of these characters want to have a lot of their abilities connect with 3 or 4 of the same color in order to generate passives. Blade Lineage Salsu really wants to have Pride connections at 3 or above in order to cast their Slayer ability, which increases the amount of damage that they deal with their final skill on the timeline. Just some food for thought. All right. So, something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind for this game. For the mirror dungeons, they are easy once you have a lay of how you're supposed to do things. You want to prioritize level up tiles. The question mark with a little dude that has arrows above it, you want to prioritize those, especially on the second and third floors, because when you hit those on the second and third floors, you're not only getting a level up for 1 unit, you're getting a level up for 2, 3 units. Fantastic stuff for maintaining the supremacy that you'd need. So work, Gathering Slash. This is fine. So as you see here, even though he had a coin advantage over me with 3 coins over 2, the fact that I have 3 coins up against him will prioritize me to win clashes more often, because he needs to hit his heads more often than I do in order to acquire a victory. Ooh. Apologies. Again, I am thinking about maybe running this for an hour at most. Just something to get the blood pumping, get my mind flowing. Okay, so as you can see at the top there, using my pulled blade here, they would need to have all 3 of their coins land on heads in order to match me getting the absolute worst chance of none of my coins landing on heads. I don't know what the statistical probability of that is off the top of my head. I am going to say that that is extremely low. That is the absolute worst case for you, absolute best case for the enemy. But why would you even give them that opportunity? This assures that you are always going to win, because no matter how many coins they flip, you at minimum generate a 7, which beats their maximum and their minimum. You want to be paying attention to that at all times. Simultaneously, you don't want to let something like... well, this isn't a good example. There are some times where you'll see that a move is neutral because the minimums and maximums are the same, but that is a trap. What you really want to be paying attention to is how those minimums and maximums are affected by the number of coins that you have available. If you have 1 coin that gives you plus 16 with Sky Clearing Cut as an example, and the enemy uses something like a beatdown, where they have a base value of 5, which would be lower than your 7, but they have 4 coins, and each coin gives them 5 additional points. They just need to score a 1 or a 2 on their coin victories in order to beat you. And all they have to do is beat you once, because this ability, the Sky Clearing Cut, is a high risk, high reward move. It's a single coin move. So if you fail the clash, you do not get a second chance to succeed on that clash. Just keep that in mind. See, like with this ability, Slice. Slice here is a 3 or an 11. If I fail to beat their 11, if they roll heads here, then I get the opportunity to just try again. I need him to roll or fail his roll once in order to succeed in that clash.
망설임이 없도록. 순조로운 전략입니다.
And it wasn't even a problem here.
또래는 배워냈어요. 명령대로 하겠습니다. 좋은 전략입니다.
I am guessing that red is wrath for the wound cleared. Should have probably assumed that that was the case because the wound cleared is a red artifact. It would match with the red attribute, which is really good because Salsu's red skill is the best that he has available in early game. Get Otis in. Now you might be asking yourself, why would I go to a level up node when I could just go to a fighting node and get the same result? The answer to that question would be health. If you're being reckless with how you manage your fights, you're going to lose health. And in dungeons, you don't have the ability to regenerate health unless you have an artifact generating health for you. Let me increase the volume on the game here. That should be enough.
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
Maybe it doesn't sound all that loud to me. Well, I'll continue here.
망설임이
This is
없도록.
lust.
또래는 뵐 수 있겠죠?
배는 맛은
Honestly,
있는
there
편이
isn't
좋은데.
a lot to
좋은
consider when you're going through these dungeons in the early game. The dungeons really pick up in strength on floor 3, really. Which is, I would probably say, a downside to the initial release of the game. I think
별일 수
I
있는
think that they would have
길이겠죠?
benefited from having the dungeons, having a harder version of the dungeons. They mentioned in their roadmap that they were going to have additional dungeons that the player will be able to do in the future, along with the increase in rewards that you'll be able to generate and all that good jazz. I think that if the player's main time is going to be focused on these dungeons and acquiring resources from these dungeons in order to assist them in the story, which the story is the main draw for diehard Ruina Lob.Corp players, they needed to make this section compelling. And it is compelling to me. I love the dungeons. I just wish that there was more stakes in the beginning from the onset.
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
그렇게 무르진 않네.
이번에는 뵐 수 있겠죠?
Alright, from here,
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
that's all you need.
배워냈어요.
Really, the early game plays itself. Alright. Now, we're cooking with gas, right? We have something beneficial with the child within a flask. This is a great utility-based artifact that you'd want to use if you're trying to generate ego or your abilities at the start of battle. We can take Little and To Be Naughty Plushie because we're generating bleed with the Wound Clarid. I don't think that I'm going to be taking it. And we have a number of skills that inflict rupture, but our composition, our team composition, is so young that I don't know if we would get a lot of utility off of taking it. I'm going with Child Within a Flask. And luckily enough, we got Gregor, so we don't have to worry about choosing anyone else here. And we're off to stage 2. I think that I might be able to finish this this fight on screen. So there is no level up node. These would be our healing nodes. This is a risky fight. This provides an additional, or this provides an ego gift. I'm thinking that the course of action to take would be middle node. Abnormality, go down to the ego gift. We're essentially going to be doing a lot of fights here. And look at what happens here. We started off with this many coins in our resource map. I already have enough to cast Rodion. That is the strength of having our Child with a Flask available. It is so good. It makes fighting a lot easier. This wins automatically. This wins automatically. This wins more often than it loses. This has... well, this has a higher shot of winning.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
There. Deleted. So as you saw with that fight between Sinclair and someone that was performing a jab, you can low roll an ability. Low rolls feel particularly terrible, but it is the nature of the dice game.
망설임이 없도록. 다음번에는 뵐 수 있겠죠? 배워냈어요. 좋은 전략입니다.
All right, victory. All right, gonna level up our Gregor here. As I mentioned last stream, your priorities for leveling up is always going to be being above
참전합니다.
the level that it states on a given node. So running around with level 20, level 30 units while with your initial team, while running around with a level 10 unit doesn't exactly allow for a fun or conducive experience. Let's see. Yep, they're still lacking data. And these are also lacking data. They don't have any additional requirements. I have seen that there are some abnormalities that do have higher tiers of story observation. I will continue to hope that Project Moon will just provide you with this information in a given resource location in the main menu, instead of having to locate the enemy and reading their story and ruining the pace of the game. What is this? Second. Alright, cool. You're targeting this. Yeah. You are being targeted by 2 units. Get the greater of the 2. Being targeted by 2. You're going fine. Take over this.
망설임이 없도록.
See? At this point, it is a lot of like probability and math count. You can use this method of fighting the enemy or the chapters that a lot of people are having trouble with and do it no problem. I've done chapter 18 with mostly this composition without an issue, because most of this game just relies on clash management.
망설임이
Oh no.
없도록.
Oh no. Seriously?
좋은
But it didn't
전략입니다.
really matter, it's just an extra turn. Although an extra turn will cost you if you're trying to EX a chapter. Keep in mind, you don't want to exactly, you want to be playing your best move every time. You don't want to perform a blunder like that often. If at all, if you can avoid it. But this is our risky fight here.
최선을 다해 임하겠습니다.
Right. What do I need to generate? I need 1 glutton, 2 pride. There's 1 pride. Next turn I generate a pride with this unit, so we're just doing what we can.
명령대로
Ooh,
하겠습니다.
and
배워냈어요.
I don't even think that we're going to need the AoE. Yeah. It's just like a disgusting dominant performance.
망설임이 없도록.
하겠습니다.
순조로운 전략입니다.
역시 모르네.
Like, look at that. 73 damage. Because we're just piling up the bleed with the wound cleared. And we gain an increased bleed chance, or, not bleed chance, an increased crit chance with Rodion on her, like, EX skill.
벼릴 수 있는 기회겠죠?
Now, I will say that if I'm thinking about the location that I'm going on next on the node map here, I'm probably going to do the top corner in order to remove a sinner from the pool. It gives me an increased chance of getting Blade Lineage Yi Sang if I want them in order to complete my composition, or someone like Ryoshu. Or it removes something from the pool for when I draw another unit at the end of this chapter. So, take advantage of that. And if all of your units are tier 3 within your box, you gain passive. So you are incentivized to just pile up these sinners onto your crew. Or onto your crew if you can.
순조로운 전략입니다. 명령대로 하겠습니다. 좋은 전략입니다. 배워냈어요. 배워냈어요.
Now that was a risky fight, as you can see, because we are being proactive with our team composition building. That was an easy fight. To go first. Turn. Or no, the easy fight was back there. Honestly, I don't even remember it. Which is a big downside of the difficulty for these dungeons. What are you? Okay. So let's see. You are being directed here. We'll take that. You will take this. This is a counter. These are two defensive. Or these are counters. This is dodge. This.
망설임이 없도록.
Oh, I don't even get the chance to defend. That was awful. You can see why people don't typically use their guard skills in this game. The name of the game most of the time with this is to stagger your opponent. Stagger removes an enemy from the board. It increases the amount of damage that you deal onto them. It lowers their counter so that they enter into a negative state emotionally. There's no real reason to employ anything other than like a full-on offensive. Here. Take you here. I will kill you.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
제대로 들어갔습니다.
그렇게 무르진 않네.
순조로운 전략입니다.
Alright, you're gonna win here. You're gonna win here. You're going to murder. You're going to slay. You're gonna slay.
망설임이 없도록. 좋은 전략입니다. 좋은 전략입니다.
처리했습니다.
역시 모르네.
배워냈어요.
Alright, we're good to go. We are almost done with the dungeon. This, at the start of the turn, deal 3 fixed damage to all enemies. Enemies with 33% or less HP are inflicted with 1 attack power down. This is really good. I haven't seen this ego before, or this ego gift. After defeating an enemy by using a sloth or blunt damage. Well, I don't have any blunt damage, and I have, I think, 1 sloth ability? 2? This isn't really going to be doing me any good, and Tremor isn't something that I can activate. If you are thinking of getting something like this, just remember that in order to trigger Tremor, you need to have someone that can burst Tremor. Bursting Tremor is really strong, since it is one of the only methods of inflicting, like, bonus copious amounts of stagger damage. but it is something that you don't have a lot of control over when none of your units can trigger Tremor, essentially making this a dead item. I would really be choosing out of 2 of these based off of my party composition, which really is one of these because I can't use the blunt damage, and the gaining 2 blunt power up for 2 turns is useless because I don't have any blunt damage to gain a bonus off of. It's a voodoo doll, 10 out of 10 times. Let's get my last unit here. Alright, my team composition is fully formed. So next floor, I'll have my Yi-Sang available. And Yi-Sang will be
이번에는 누굴 베어버리면 되는 거야?
occupying the final space. I don't have to worry about filling it with something that doesn't have a nice meld with the rest of the party composition that I have available. Alright. You will always win this. You have a greater possibility of winning this than not. See, this is what I'm talking about. They gain 2. If they gain 2 per coin. So, assuming that they flip heads 50% of the time, they get at least 2. So this 3 is actually a 7. I generate 1 coin per point. So if I generate at least, if heads are 50% of the time, and I have 3 heads or 3 coins, I can generate heads at least 1 time out of the 3, right? That's how the probability works. I'm not good at math. That should be how it works. You are better off doing something with this where they need to generate at minimum 3 heads in order to overcome your 1 bad roll, and you have the chance of generating a good roll. Now, I wish that the game gave you something like an overpowered roll, where if you're attacking with a... Well, I guess the game would be broken if that were the... Never mind.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
See? Now, if I cleared 2 coins, it becomes impossible for him to deal any damage to me. Because he could only ever generate a 7, and at minimum, even when I fail my heads roll, I generate an 8. High base power abilities are very strong when you're dealing with clashing. I'm gonna kill you. Hello, Jinji. Let's see. Since I'm at risk of potentially losing the clash here, I generate this ego. Now I'm just guaranteed to win here, right? That 4 or 12, it is useless compared to my ego skill, which is always going to be at a 20. As the game suggests, you never really want to give the opponent a fair fight to win in a clash, because the game functions off of like a win more or a lose more mechanic. When you have a person lose into or get staggered within the fight, that means that they have less chance to affect the game board, they're not generating ego, they are vulnerable, and since this isn't an abomination fight, you're going to get targeted more often. You're taking more damage, and you can't heal that damage regularly or consistently within the dungeon run. But we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now that we've staggered the enemy, we can just let the game play itself. See? Easy peasy. Okay then. So at the start of the turn, gain 1 ego resource of a random affinity that wasn't used last turn. If a lust skill was used, which would be our orange, gain 1 ego resource of every affinity that wasn't used last turn. We have the flask. Doubling up on ego generation would be strong. I don't think that we'd need it for this group composition anymore. We're already generating all of the ego coins that we'd need in order to consistently spit out abilities. Tomorrow's Fortune. This ego gift is a trap gift if you do not get it at the start of the run. You are not guaranteed to get ego drops, so why would you invest your ego drop on generating an additional option? Doesn't even give you the chance of getting an additional ego gift when you pick it up. This is just like a dead gift all of the time for the chance, the benefit that you could get something better down the line. It's not really worth it. We saw this in the beginning of our run, and now that we have confirmed our bleeding composition, our slashing composition with our wounded cleric, this is a go-to pickup. Reduces the amount of damage that we're taking. It increases the amount of damage that the enemies are taking. Easy pickup. And here we have Ryoshu. Perfect. Ryoshu is fantastic for her passive ability as a 7-section unit because we get Icebreaker. One ally with the lowest max HP inflicts +1 rupture. It combos well with dealing additional damage for Gregor. It deals additional damage for everyone else so long as we have our Gluttony. If we want to put her into place, we increase our slash damage by our Gluttony this turn. And since all of the other units are generating Gluttony, and all of the other units are using slash, this is going to increase the amount of damage output that we push out, especially with Swash, which is one of the coolest skills in the game that I've experienced so far. But I'm probably not going to be putting her up on the battlefield because at the moment it would be easier to just have our Yi-Sang out on the battlefield doing Yi-Sang things. So let's see here. This is a power-up node, so I'm going to aim for that. This is our highest priority node that we could be aiming for on stage 3, because we're getting 3 upgrades for the value of 1. So if a battle gives you 1 upgrade, why would you go through a battle when you can go through 3 battles worth of a node? It is simple math. Honestly, it's a little broken when you consider that it's relatively easy to reach those nodes. I would assume that with the increased amount of upgrades that you get when you're going further into the stage, they would have maybe like a check of some sort for each time that you would enter into an area, but maybe that's something that they're doing with the later dungeons. Again, this is listed as a beginner dungeon for a reason. We're not going to be experiencing anything that is too difficult for a while, based off of the roadmap that they provided.
그렇게 물어주지 않네? 배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
And now you see the reason why having that purple ability is bad in this team. The only person that works with that purple ability in pairing is himself. So I can't pair that ability in order to get like a nice resonance going. If I wanted to do a resonance here, it would be something like green, blue. Oh no, because I have the red here. Wait. Green, red. No, but then I wouldn't be able to generate the orange. Sometimes it just be like that. But it doesn't really matter for once enemies are staggered here, because you're just ending the fight. At the start of the turn, unstagger enemies and inflict 8+ stagger level times 4 bleed on them. Then inflict +2 bleed count. And then this is a heal option, and we already talked about this ego for this team. I mean, the downside is that we don't gain a benefit for the fatal resistances being available when they're staggered, but they might just die based off of the bleed. I mean, if anything, it's a more interesting pickup, to be honest with you. Right, our unit's healed at the bottom there. And now, we enter into our level up location. Here's our little ampules. See? Number of identities to power up, 3. Absolutely busted node. And we need all of our heroes to be at minimum 25 for the final fight. So we're already hitting, we need 3 units to be hitting that 25 goal. Which we should be able to hit with some of the other nodes available. Or maybe it might not even be necessary considering how strong our team is at the moment. If you think that I'm being overconfident here, that's because I am. I am currently overconfident in these skills that my sinners can, express. Let's see here. Hard red 6. Do this. 4 is going with here. You're always going to win. You are always going to win. 3 can intervene. 2, you're always going to win. And then 2 intervenes 2, and you are always going to win.
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
We both failed on the coins in that last fight and in this clash. Doesn't matter because with a high enough base defense or base attack, you can just push through. Honestly, let's get some fun in here. Go with something like this. Really, it doesn't matter. Bam. Now we cast Ebonista. And you can see that there are 4 units on the board, but it's probably only going to target the top line. And they're all dead. Oh, I guess I spoke too soon. This'll always win. This. Incredibly easy victory. Right. This could generate us an event with looking. Cry rings out in the ashen wilderness. From the distance, an undulating wall of fog rises. Its shape resembles a human, yet it could be a spirit or a ghost taken form. Its mouth agape as if crying in despair is completely dark. Look the mist in the eye. Sure. Wrath or envy, who should go for it? And Claire wins automatically. You stared into the eye like things. Your piercing gaze met the song of endless despair in wailing sockets. You then realized that it wasn't your fog you were facing. What you thought were its eyes and mouth, all it turned out to be tricks played by shadows. When you figured out that its howl was merely whistling wind, all of it vanished. Nothing happened.
실은 망설임이 없군요.
Great. What a fantastic event.
탄테, 이번에는 누굴 베어버리면 되는 거야?
I haven't had a nothing happened event occur yet. That was just anticlimactic. All right, now we're getting into some stronger territory here. These dudes, they're difficult. So you are going to be you. Can I do this? Yes, I can. You are going to be targeted by him. You're going to be targeted by you. And you are going to be targeted by you.
명령대로
easy.
하겠습니다.
Damn. That feels awful. You get high rolls in the clash, and then you get a low roll in the damage at the end. A shame. It happens all the time. Now the reason why I didn't target these two is because they have imperfect imitation. Which means that they are going to repeat whatever skill that you give onto them back at you. There's no real reason why I would go about aiming for anything other than these guys, other than these units, because why would I risk taking damage from these enemies? You're clashing, you're clashing. Okay, so then I can just target.
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
Again. It happened again.
순조로운 전략입니다. 흉터의 결과요.
Alright, now we can actually start targeting the enemy here because they have just moves available. This is flashing. Handle that. Maybe I'll let. Can you handle that? No, you're the only one. I would be struggling. Favorite. You're dead. And you're dead.
망설임이 없도록.
I just realized that they have 4 strength, which means that they have higher base attack than what I should be fighting against. It's whatever. This fight is a foregone conclusion, guys. It's... I don't know how else to put it.
망설임이 없도록. 난자오.
Damn, I didn't get a chance. And see, he hits me with my attack back again. which means that, as you can see here, they're taking 23 damage per coin skill tossed, 21 damage per coin skill tossed based off of the ego that we have available, the ego gift. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, we don't have access to knowing about on screen. Would we know based off of... No, we wouldn't know. Not even in the menu up top here. Something to keep in mind for the suggestion next time. If Project Moon listens to a lot of the feedback that the community provides, so if there are things that you're not enjoying about the game, I would highly recommend that you talk to them in a civil and concise manner. Tell them, hey, Project Moon, your game, I love it, but there are some problems with how things are managed that you have acknowledged are going to be fixed in March 16th. Here's a list of the things that I have an issue with. Oh, you're not even... Okay, so you've been pushed to death. No, your right arm is at 0. Let's just try to kill you now.
망설임이 없도록.
He didn't get the counter there, as you saw, because we broke his arm. And his arm was the one that was providing that imitation skill. It is contextually pretty cool things for the game. When using multi-target skills, increase its damage by 20%. I mean, I could just always heal by 12% at the start of the game. A pained moan echoes across the heat. It's hard to tell if it comes from a beast or a human. A sizzle spreads into the air along with the smell of burning flesh. Please, I need water. Won't someone give me water to drink? I mean, no reason not to, right? Whether from the pain or the frustration of unquenched thirst, the bull runs. We are not spared from its wrathful charge. Identities with sloth take 20 HP and gain the rusty commemorative coin. The rusty commemorative coin is a broken item. If the first single coin skill that an ally uses during the combat phase doesn't defeat an enemy, use it one more time. I want you to realize that this also includes ego skills. So if your ego skill is a 1 coin skill, you can repeat your ego twice. This is nutty. You do some broken things with this. Luckily enough, we're about to reach the end of the run here, which would mean that my time on stream is almost over.
탄테, 이번에는 누굴 베어버리면 되는 거야?
Alright. I haven't fought this thing before. Let's see here. You have Tail Whip, Pressing Sacks, Powerful Clap, Clap, Clap. And this is use a powerful attack after the count reaches a certain number. Well, there's a reason why I've been building all of my ego for just this one occasion. And that would be for this moment here. I will win this fight 100% of the time. I will win this fight 100% of the time. I will win this fight 100% of the time. As you can see, this is just like overkill, right?
배는 맛은 있는 편이 좋은데.
And now watch. Right now, I have dealt.
생각하시오.
I used my Crow's Eye View in order to deal damage against the enemy. It was a single coin skill, which means that it is going to repeat. I didn't get to inflict -4 down, I believe, because I didn't get the heads hit. But I got the haste, I believe. So no, I didn't even get the haste. It had to be a victory. I'm inflicting Rupture 4.
여행에는
We're just
목적이
gonna
있었지.
see a lot of like moves right now. Oh.
뜨거운 불꽃이 마음을 녹일 수 있다면
Something that I just realized about Rodion. I don't want to hit heads when I use her skill. If I do, I get a -15 to my attack. That's awful.
나의 손으로 잘라낼 수 있다면
They have been unstaggered, so now they're taking 29 times 6. I think that that's just like over 150 health that they're losing one turn. So fight against this. You going to get hit by this one? I'm probably gonna lose a fight here, actually. Do this. Hopefully I win that counter move. I'm getting double. Yiseng is staggered over there, so he's not contributing. And that is why you use skills with bonus coins. See? Okay.
다음번에는 할
Perfect.
수 있겠죠?
And I stagger plus, which means that they're taking 57 damage each time that they do a move. That is wild. Just do this, and then wail on it with all of the other moves that I have available.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
이상이 무엇이라 생각하시오? 이상이 무엇이라 생각하시오?
I guess each body part is generating a different fruit. If you see the locations. This is generating a so it's something.
명령대로 하겠습니다.
복을 구하고 싶다면 정성을 들여 빌어보시오. 복을 구하고 싶다면 정성을 들여 빌어보시오.
they're dead. Easy peasy.
관리자님의 99%
And
명령과
with this,
1%의 제
we have
실력이
achieved
합쳐진
victory.
결과였습니다.
We have successfully finished a dungeon on stream. You gain, since I don't have the weekly rewards up, you gain 3 Battle Pass experience, 60 Manager experience, and 5 tickets, gold and silver. And this is, admittedly, it's about an hour, a little over an hour, since I'm going over my abilities on stream, but I can bang out a dungeon for within maybe 35 to 45 minutes. It's pretty easy to do overall. Anyway, thank you for coming by and watching the game. I do hope that you have questions and drop them down. I am more than happy to answer. I'm committing myself to learning as much about this game as possible, and I have a number of takes about this game that I have been just sitting and percolating about. I will leave you all to relax. Take a nice long bath, shower, and sleep tight. This has been Mr. Staleman, signing off.